Hello, and this is Carlos, and this is my third video on YouTube. Last time I talked about Asperger syndrome, society, um, how we get rejected by people in society. I want to add that I want to make this comment that it's a totally normal human reaction to reject and sometimes fear what is unknown, what is different. We tend to fear, evoke emotions that I don't want to say hate, but kind of dislike what is different because we like to stereotype everything. Nature like to uh, follow status quo, uh, make everybody the same, so the options of uh, survival can be higher. When you're in a society and you help each other, it's easy. When you don't fall in that society, you're dead. That's what happened in in nature with animals like lions, or when they get isolated from the group, they get dead. They die. So I want to say that yes, it's a totally normal human reaction. So I'm making this comment because many aspies have, I don't want to say fallacy, because emotions sometimes make you create prejudices against other people. But I want to say, yeah, prejudice against evil, about evil, I'm sorry. That neurotypicals are mean, and this world is mean by nature, by essence. And I have to say that no, this world is not mean. I have to say that we have a tendency to be good or be bad. We have a shadow nature and we have a good nature. So our shadow not only depends on inner determinants, it also depends in the situations we are going through and the systems that create and shape those situations, right? So I want to say that many aspects think about world as an evil place, and I understand why, because many people mistreat us. It has happened to me. I've been mistreated in work. I've been mistreated in my family, my own family. We are not understand, and it's very difficult. But I want to say that even us Aspergers people, we are capable of doing wrong things too, and be sometimes mean, because we sometimes are mean when we want to be mean. We sometimes tend to identify those personality bad sides of people, and we can really push nerves if we want, push a nerve when we want. For example, I have this friend, well, we are not friends with him anymore. Well, he had a brother, right? He had a brother, and my friend is 28 years old, and his brother is only 2 years older than him. But they are totally opposites. His friend is an engineer from the Navy, and he is very successful guy. He have a very beautiful family, and he has amazing house, I can say. Yeah, he have been successful. But my friend is, let's say, the black sheep of the family. He is very disorganized. very, he tends to be a high sensation seeking person. He's an extrovert. And one day I got in an argument with him, right? And he started calling me non-normal. I say, well, dude, I say to him, at least I'm not the black sheep of the family. I'm feel envy of my brother because he's 1,000 times more successful than me. And he stopped, and I saw his eyes coming, tears out of his eyes. So I know that was really mean, but I make this as example. We also are capable of doing wrong things. So yes, I want to talk about a very important uh, topic in psychology, especially in analytic psychology. And this term was coined by Carl Gustav Jung, and is an individuation process. Carl Jung's main philosophy falls into the point that he believed that everybody of us have a God nature, as we also have a Lucifer nature in us. And the meaning of life is to find that imago Dei. This is a Latin term to me. I am God. Um, what this means is that we have to master the shadow part of ourselves, the animalistic part, that is the instinctive part. I can say that reptilian brain side we have that make us do very natural, sometimes let's say brutal things. I'm not saying that instincts are bad or wrong. I'm saying that instincts are patterns of behavior that condition us to survive in nature, right? These are not morally these Carl Jung called these archetypes, and they are morally neutral. But when they collide with reality, they tend to go to either evil or good, and that is when our free will comes. That is when our individuation process comes, and it's when we have to be able to master those instincts and shape them into the good way and not into the bad side. We're living in a very materialistic society. Unfortunately, our society is very shallow. People is very opportunistic, and they tend to look for their own good and their families and their kin, but they are not thinking about others, right? We tend to do wrong things based on instincts, and I'll say conservation instincts. Like when we, for example, consumerism, we're doing very wrong things against other people in the world because we need to consume, or we are destroying other people's life because we need to have this be materialistic, right? That fall under the category of instincts, that we want to have the best, we want to have always all the materials in our life to make us happy, right? Freud say that we tend to look for happiness, right? And happiness is the fulfilling of our pulsions or instincts. But for example, we have to also use defense mechanisms of repression. For example, right now, if we have a contender, we can kill him. We cannot kill him, we have to find another way in which we can get him out of race, right? For example, let's say I have um, a girl that I like a lot, and this other guy is also interested in this girl. Let's say that I'm not going to grab a stone and kill him, or punch him. We're not animals, we are humans. And let's say I use a totally different way. Let's say I do something wrong, like for example, I go to this girl and start talking bad things about him to her. Let's say this. That's something wrong to do. We're talking bad about this guy. Well, you can see that's a behavior we do. We think we have total control over this behavior, but it have an unconscious factor going on under the curtain, under the table, and we are not even aware of. So I want to talk and say that many Aspergers thinks that neurotypicals and society is evil and dark. I believe that we have to change that conception. Many of us. I had that conception for many years, and that only made me miserable, right? Because that only made me hate my life and hate other people around me, and say this life sucks. I don't know why I am alive. And we have to understand that we are capable of being good and being bad. So we have I want to talk in a increment in something called capable of. When we're capable of doing something wrong and doing something good. Neurotypicals are the same, and we are also capable of doing bad things and good things, right? Uh, I want to say, I don't know if many of you have ever uh, watched this movie called The Hobbit, and it's about this dwarf and this little guy called Bilbo Baggins, and they are going to a mountain to kill a dragon. Smug, I think is the name. Well, I'm talking in these terms because I know a lot of us like mythology, and we are very like a lot of fantasy stuff, and we like a lot of uh, we like a lot of fantastic terms and fantasies like dragon fairies and stuff like that. I'm a huge fan of mythology, especially because I want to become a Jungian analyst. We have to understand the symbols behind this. So let's say our life, if we see in a different perspective, we are like this dwarf trying to kill this dragon. This dragon can represent ourselves as well. It represents our shadow side, our egocentric evil side. We also have to see that in order to go for an individuation process, we have to kill the dragon. If you see this not only appear on this movie. There's a lot of images that represents a hero killing a dragon. That's another symbolic figure I will talk about in another video. The archetype of the hero. But right now I want to say that this dragon can represent our bad nature, and can also represent the mother, and can represent a system, a political, cultural, economical system. that repress us, right? So we have to realize that the dragon is protecting a huge treasure, but the dwarves, what they really want is that this little diamond, amazing diamond. That's what they want, and that's what it's about. That's what's the main goal of human, is to master and find ourselves and find our true self. This is what this little uh, jewel represents. The self is another archetype in Jungian psychology. Is the unity archetype, and it represents God, a deity, imago Dei, which means I am God. Um, in fact, that's what I want to say religion, but that's what is religion about. Religion is about pretty much talking about inner phenomena in our psyche happening. That's what religion about. And they represent that if we want to be close to God, because I believe in God, we have to become God first. We have to master that side. So many of us aspies think like me. Well, if you want to know more about symbols, I recommend you this book called Man as His Symbols by Carl Jung. It's a like introductory point to analytic psychology. It's a very good book. It's very straightforward and rich in suggestion. Right now, I'm in, because it's in page 227, because I don't read one book at a time. I read, that's an issue with Aspergers, I guess, and is that I read like 4 books at the same time. I'm reading this book called The Lucifer Effect by Felix Zimbardo. I'm reading The Ego and the Archetype. Um, this Freud book called Psychology of the Masses, of the Mass, and the analyze of the ego. So I want to say that we have to change that misconception about, as aspies, we have to change this misconception about seeing the world as an evil side. We have to see the world as a fight, as a battle between evil and good. Human nature, like Carl Jung say, is a complex of inexorable opposites. Birth and death, day and night, good and evil, happiness and misery. We don't know who is going to win, but that's the beauty of being human. Many of us have to understand that. I wish neurotypical people understand that. I know many neurotypical people think that way, but even my analyst, she's a woman, she's neurotypical, and she thinks like me. But we have to understand that part. Like many of us aspies see the world as I do. So the only thing I can say is that when we see everything as dark and bad, our life go that way too. So I can say that it doesn't have any point in, we just have to learn to be happy. And well, if we're having troubles being abused and bullied by other people, there is a lot of agencies and institutions that can help us, so I recommend to any ASPI that is going through this struggle to go and seek for help. Well, this is my third video. This is the end. Next time I'm going to talk about, I think about talk about, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. Maybe I'm going to talk about more symbolism. Maybe I will talk more about my life experiences next time. I will talk maybe a little bit more about sex and romanticism, romantic relationships in Aspergers.